Hi, my name is Luisa De Jesus, founder and president of LD Human Resources. Welcome to my new show, HR Real Talk. We'll be coming here weekly to answer all of your HR questions in a no-nonsense, no-fluff type of way. We'll also be bringing with us monthly expert guests to help answer those questions. At LD Human Resources, we provide customized HR solutions to small and medium-sized businesses. We believe that your people are your most valuable asset and truly set you apart from your competition. With the right people and the right HR tools, your business will achieve accelerated results. Now let's get to the first topic for today's show.
For today's first ever episode of HR Real Talk, and in the spirit of International Women's Day, I'm excited to be joined by my guest, Charline Grant. Charline is a trailblazer in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as leading the charge for education reform. She's a partner at KEDS Consulting, which provides anti-racism, equity, and inclusion training and consultation that inspires transformative change in individuals and across organizations. Charline sits on the York Children's Aid Society board, representing the needs of Black children and parents, and is a proud wife and mom of 3 amazing children. Welcome, Charline, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Louisa, for having me. This is so exciting. Thank you very much.
So excited to have you here. Let's dive right into our conversation. So we're almost at the 1 year mark, or 1 year anniversary, when Canada went into lockdown due to COVID. And, you know, it's been quite a journey. This year's also been marked by many headlines, including political controversy and the rebirth of a civil rights movement. What are some of the issues and topics that you've been most frequently asked to speak to and consult on during this time?
I'm getting a lot of requests for interviews on education and the systemic racism in the system. I'm also asked to consult on racism in banking and the real estate industry, believe it or not, the real estate industry, as well as just training and what do you call it? Equity audits in organization across this country. We're seeing, as you mentioned, is the rebirth of the civil rights movement. Mm-hmm. So a number of companies have recognized that there is a need, and they're leading into it, and they're looking forward to increasing their diversity and just learning and being better.
Good. Well, it's very important. And I'm happy to hear that you are getting those inquiries across, you said across Canada. Do you find and it varies in terms of the requests from province to province?
It varies. Definitely. There's some provinces that are more ahead than others. But not to say, I mean, when we think of, I always think of Starbucks when they had their issue. They lean right into it. And now they're one of the leading organizations that's pushing for change, and they've revamped their whole system, and they're really training their staff and being a trailblazer themselves. They didn't make excuses. They didn't shy away from it. They made a mistake. One of their staff made a mistake. They recognized that, and they definitely went right into training.
And it's interesting that you say that, because some of the clients that I work with, and myself included, I mean, this came up when our first conversation took place. There's a fear around speaking publicly about diversity and inclusion, with the fear that we may say the wrong thing or offend someone unintentionally. What would your advice be to them?
So you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. Let's put it that way, right? Intent is very important, and impact. When you don't know, even just from definitions, ask, what would you prefer? What would you want to be identified as? What would you want me to say? And when you make those mistakes, own them and apologize. Even say right off the bat, listen, this is new for me. We're all, and I will say this, we're all learning. We're all unlearning. And we're all learning at the same time as well. A lot of the definitions, they're new to me, and I've learned them over the years, because I came from a country that everybody looks like me. So I didn't have to really face, there was colonialism, yes, but there wasn't racism. I wasn't facing systemic racism every single day and microaggressions. So when I came here and some of the definitions, I was like, I've never heard of this. So I would say, don't be afraid. We're all in this together. Let whoever you're speaking with know that you might make mistakes, but I just want to learn.
That's great advice. Thank you. I know it makes me feel a little bit better. With Kids Consulting, you work to provide anti-racism, equity and inclusion training and consultation. I know that a large part of your work is not only speaking to these issues from a human rights perspective, but also educating business owners on the return on investment they can expect for making diversity and inclusion a priority in their business. Can you speak to how diversity in an organization really impacts ROI?
So your workforce is more diverse, it's people feel comfortable, and when people are comfortable and they're not tensed, their productivity is better, right? And when you have diversity of idea, you are creating innovations. So it's not just diversity of the way people look, but you also get those diverse ideas. You get people that are coming with different lived experiences, and they're able to share that you wouldn't even think of, because now you have various people at the table helping you to create a business plan, helping you to create a strategy that you probably wouldn't have thought of because it's not your lived experiences. And having diversity in a workforce, sometimes you will minimize potential lawsuits, because those people will help you in languages, in how to approach certain issues, whether it's on a PR front or whether it's just in creating policies and making sure policies, hiring practices, or anti-bias.
Wonderful. Thank you. And, a lot of the clients that I work with are in the small business realm. As you know, 80% of our economy is owner managed business. So what would you say the difference in the approach to diversity and inclusion would be in corporate Canada versus small business Canada?
So corporate Canada, their resources are larger. They have the funds to really do deep dives. And look, most times they're larger. So they're able to really look at their policies, if it's an institution, their bylaws, their constitution, and really revamp them and make them anti-racist. So they have the resources to do that, and maybe do a full equity audit with a huge commitment of a year or two. Whereas small businesses, they might not have that. So what I would say to small and medium-sized businesses is be diverse in your hiring, create anti-bias hiring practices, and training. Have ongoing training for your management staff, your senior staff, your middle management staff, just ongoing training to learn, so that you are well equipped, so when issues come, you know exactly how to handle it. Or hire a consulting firm and retainer. Maybe even like the way you do it for PR or a law firm, just in case there's ever an issue, you have someone that could coach you along the way.
That's great. Thank you. In the spirit of International Women's Day, I mean, this week we're celebrating one of the topics trending in the news is the idea that really, COVID has had a significant impact on working moms, threatening to pull many women away from the workforce in order to really manage raising a family, supporting their elderly parents. There's some research that we found from the Center of Economic Policy, and they had noted that among married couples and those who work full-time, women provide close to 70% of childcare during standard working hours. So as a working mom yourself, share with us, what's been your experience? What can we do to empower women? How do we keep in the workplace? How do we balance? How do we work?
Well, we're very good at multitasking. It's one of our superpowers, I like to call it, that we are able to have our children on Zoom and cooking at the same time. I can't tell you how many times I'm Zooming and I have my camera off because I'm also cooking. So I think, and I know we have been impacted in the workforce, but I'm speaking to the bosses, management, CEOs. Give women a little bit more leeway, because they're juggling a lot at home, especially on the front that their children are home. And I say, take it easy. take some of the pressure off, push things back, push back more. And, for me, I find I do a lot of, I find time for self, because that's important.
Very important.
Whether it's yoga, whether it's going for walks, whether it's just doing my deep breathing before and after, before I go to bed. Like, I find ways to really try and cope with the stress of the everyday, because it is a lot. My youngest, my 10-year-old always says to me, Mom, you're always on Zoom. For me, I'm a little bit more, I would say, lucky, because I have a 16-year-old daughter that could help him with his French assignments.
Yes.
But I would say, just take more time for self and take some of the pressure off. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
We do. I think it's like self sort of inflicted when it comes to, conquering the world with,
Yes.
with women. So I'm gonna switch gears back to, the focus of what you do. And I would love to hear, you gave us some really good tips, but what do you really see as some areas and opportunities for the greatest improvement in small businesses when it comes to diversity and inclusion? What opportunities would be the greatest ones for us to say do now, or what can we implement, and what are some of the key things that, like, low-hanging fruit for small business owners today?
Small business owner, I would say maybe hiring a consulting company on retainer, just to start your training, just to even do, what am I doing, or what can I do, just to get advice. It's easy to call up and see and find out, what can I do in my specific line of business. It's easier, for example, when I think of real estate, for example, that is, a small real estate company, being able to make sure that your real estate agents are not perpetuating the systemic system. I mean, I have my real estate license, for example, and I can't begin to tell you how many times I've been asked, send me a picture of your clients.
Oh,
Yes.
from the actual client?
Sorry?
From the other client, like from the client?
Of the other agent. And I'm like, no.
Oh.
Yes. Because, and I personally don't even have my picture on my real estate card.
Which is very common in the industry.
Yes, because that's important, because the picture wouldn't tell you who the person is.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the application and judge accordingly. So different industry have different issues, and it's specific to industry. But I would say, whatever industry you are, start speaking to a consulting company, speak to the expert, get their input, and help your organization to grow. Lean into it, be the first domino in that pack to start a domino effect in your industry.
That's excellent advice. Thank you. And how can our viewers connect with you, Charline? How can we learn more about your work?
Our website is www.kedz consulting.com. Our email address is info, pretty easy, at kezconsulting.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure. And let's stay connected. And thank you again for joining me. And everyone, happy International Women's Week. Looking forward to more HR Real Talk. Thank you, Charline. Have a great day.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of HR Real Talk. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit the like button and leave us a comment below to let us know what you think. Don't forget to follow us every week to hear more answers to your HR questions. For a free consultation, visit ldhr.ca. We'd love to hear from you. See you next week.